What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another weekly episode of RDX Podcast. What's that? You don't know what RDX Podcast is. It's the weekly podcast where we break down all the latest in gaming news plus more. Of course, I've got my usual suspects here. We're going to start off by introducing some people, get into some lighter topics, and then we're going to move into the good stuff, the real juicy stuff. We'll start off with our guest tonight, K Mega, brother. What's going on, man?
What? I don't know where all day is, so I'm just going to have
in the corner eating hot dog again.
Hey, I'm pretty sure, you know what I'm saying, he is our dearly beloved chipmunk. So wherever you at, we love you, we miss you, and eat away. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be my first time to come on the RDX, man, and be with a fellow brother, you know what I'm saying, Fonzarelli, and man, you know, Luca, Colt, and then of course you, Dealer, man. This is awesome. Let's go.
Yep, we had to make it happen. We got a fucking phenomenal show for you guys today. We're gonna introduce Luca, the Ashen Luca, as a matter of fact. How you been?
Hey man, I've been good. I'm ready for tonight's show. I'm ready to get into these topics, and I'm happy to have our brother K Mega on. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Separated at birth. Fonzarelli, brother, love the new logo. How you been, man?
Hey, man, it's good to be back. It's Tuesday, RDX. Let's get it, man. Happy.
Let's get it. Colt Eastwood, you're new to YouTube, right? How you been, man? Welcome to the podcast. What's been going on?
It's good to be here. It's like the best week for Xbox news in a long time. It's awesome. Gonna, it's winter time. You know, the X is almost here. Nice big bowl of hot soup. Ready for it.
What's your favorite brand? Progresso, right?
Progresso soup, baby.
We got a lot of good stuff for you guys tonight. Go get a drink, get a crack rock, whatever your comfort thing of choice, and just settle in because we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Starting with, like I said, some of the lighter topics. Bunch of news regarding backwards compatibility today, and of course, this is very interesting. Colt, take the lead on this, bro.
Yeah, they're bringing a whole bunch of stuff. What is it? 13 games from the original Xbox. Like Knights of the Old Republic, Crimson Skies. Some games I never really got into, but that's really cool.
Yeah,
so that's original stuff.
The full-on higher resolution treatment. At first, I was thinking, man, what can you really gain from a game with super low resolution assets? With better resolution, it kind of, but it is substantial. They've got comparisons up on the Xbox YouTube channel now. Xbox versus Xbox One S comparisons of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It looks like a different game, guys.
Well, it's widescreen as well. It is 16:9 ratio. You know, those games used to be a 4:3 and more like a box shape. Mm-hmm. So you've got the widescreen, and then they're all up-res to native 4K. Blows my face off.
Mega, I know you're an older gamer, proud old gamer in the senior citizen home, bro. What do you think about this stuff, man?
Yes, man. I got my Geritol, and I'm about to get out my wheelchair and do the moonwalk. I am so goddamn excited about this. Matter of fact, earlier I was playing Ninja Gaiden Black, and just in amazement of how good that game looks. I mean, it still holds up, but the extra textures and the detail, you actually see it. And to be honest, the old OG backwards compatible games actually seem to be a little bit better than the 360 games did when they first were introduced. It just because they just knew, I guess Xbox just knew what the hell that they're doing. So
yeah, they've got more refined,
yeah, they're a lot more refined, like you said. And man, I'm stoked because I got KOTOR and I got Black, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get probably Crimson Skies and Dead to Rights, and then I'm ready to go, man. Old school gamer in the house.
So let's get this part out of the way because we do have some specifics of what's going on here. And I know the chat in a previous podcast said I'm not really super excited for this, but even after seeing this myself, I'm like, I'm still not going to play this. I'm just going to be real, but it is impressive what they've done with a simple emulation. So what they're doing is they're taking older games like Halo 3, they're taking Oblivion, they're taking KOTOR and more, Assassin's Creed. The 360 games, apparently, some of them are going to run at 4K with HDR, apparently. They're doing interesting stuff here. So essentially you're bringing Xbox 360 emulation with a dramatic boost to resolution and even frame rate. They said this is some wizardry on the software side. Fonz,
and
I know you're into some of this older stuff too, man. What's going on there? What do you think?
I'm excited for it, man. And some of the games I heard kicking around, I'm really excited for. there's some games out there that I still wish we could see come back, but I think they'd be too hard to bring back because you'd have to have online components and everything going. Mech Assault is one of those games. But hey, man, I'll take whatever they give me and try them out for sure. Yeah,
Mech Assault should be in there for sure. Anybody else got any final thoughts on this? I think it's pretty awesome.
No, it's great, man. And then, just to it's weird because I did some I recorded some gameplay off of it. I did a little clip and I'm still like, damn, this is on the Xbox One. Like this is a trip, but just going through it and you got to get used to that camera angle off of Ninja Game Black. But once you get into it, it's ready to go. I got my ass kicked a couple of times by the first boss, but I'm telling you, this is really big. And of course, since the 360 launch was, or the backwards compatible games was really good and successful, I think is going to be even more successful because there was some hidden gems that a lot of people didn't get a chance to play.
Options are good. I think that's the bottom line. I think the chat can agree. Let us know what you think of this backwards compatible witchcraft going on.
I've said it 100 times. What I love about the Xbox brand is the fact that they give you a lot of options. They give you a lot of services and stuff that are just there for people that want to take advantage. And that is an awesome thing. People shouldn't down that at all. Not at all.
No, options are great. And shout out to over 200 people watching this live already, guys. Hit that like button, share the podcast on Twitter, everywhere. Tell your grandma about it. We do appreciate the support, guys. You keep us going, literally. So we did want to talk about another kind of off-the-topic subject here. EA developer. This is a guy that used to work at EA Montreal, I do believe. He helped work on Mass Effect 3, Andromeda. They've come out about how much money they've been making off of these microtransactions. This is insane. So according to him, they had these customers they refer to as whales, right? Some of the executives, whales being, hey, just people with more money than sense.
Well,
they say, more money than sense, and they say they've gotten up to $15,000 in microtransactions money from one customer before on Mass Effect 3 multiplayer cards. This is absolutely insane.
It's that guy's fault right there. It's that guy's fault.
He's powering somebody's salary by himself.
Yeah, I've played the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer a lot. Like I've unlocked, I don't know, almost all the characters. I really like that mode, and I just had fun like working my way toward unlocking their power-ups and the different characters, and somebody's just sort of like swiping their debit card. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. Thoughts, Fonz? I know you're pretty passionate about this subject.
And this is what I've been trying to tell people is that this is billions of dollars every year collected in microtransactions, people. They don't need this. It's not a necessary evil. This is not needed in the fucking games. I'm tired of people saying that. It's not. This is extra cash. Yes, they're in the business to make money, but this is a lot of goddamn money. Like I said, billions of dollars into microtransactions alone. And, I don't like them as a whole, but there's some worse than others, of course. And we have to keep the pay-to-win bullshit out. We have to keep a lot of this shit out of our games. Just look into it, man. Google research. I've done a lot of research. I see what they've made. Before this article was out, I was seeing what EA, what Ubisoft, what Activision, what they're making on these microtransactions. And it's astronomical. It's crazy.
There is an argument by saying, hey, game prices haven't risen in 15 years or so. They've got to make money somehow, inflation, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Budgets are going up, and all that's factual. But that's without taking into account the money they're making on the DLC they're selling you with every single game now. I think EA, I said this a billion times, last quarter or last year made $1.5 billion in DLC alone. That's profit off of DLC, not the game. So they've introduced ways to make you pay more.
Here's the thing,
over time.
If you do the math on the games, how much they sell, with these big AAA games anyway, I've done the math with Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm telling you, they made money just on the game alone. The DLC is just extra cash in the bank. And at this point, they're not throwing all those microtransactions in. But these big companies, these giant companies, make money off the AAA game alone. Believe it. They make money off those games. Digital sales help a lot. You guys don't understand. Look into it. They make a good percentage out of that $60. I think it's roughly about $27 off the game itself. out of that $60 is what.
More importantly, nobody's there to buy that used game. You know,
and that is including. That's not including the cost for publishing, not publishing, for creating the disc and all that for physical
packaging, transportation of the disc, paying some guy to do that. Yeah.
When it comes down to buying digitally, they get all that extra cost. The only thing they have to pay in for is the servers or the sites to host their game to be downloaded from. That's it. And it's a small percentage. It's nothing like it costs to make the actual disc. They make roughly about almost $40 out of that $60. That's what the publishers are making out of digital sales.
A game that sells for $4 million, Fonz, at $30 a pop. Let's just lowball it. That's still, on 4 million copies, that's still $120 million.
Yeah. People have got to understand microtransactions are not a necessary evil. Stop saying that. Do the homework. I've done the homework. It's not right.
But okay, this is the thing that I'm going to go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
No, Mega, go ahead. You're the guest here. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the only thing I was just going to say is that I look at it from a different perspective. I agree that some microtransactions are necessary and definitely harms the industry. But for some that are smart, like if you look at The Witcher 3, you look at how Halo 5 is worked theirs in. Even as I'm looking at Forza, which you can't spend Forza 7, you can't spend any money.
Those imaginary microtransactions.
Those imaginary evil loot boxes. But the thing of it is that if you do it smart, I don't have a problem with that, because if you say that all microtransactions should be taken away, then I think that you're also you're trying to dictate what people can they afford and what they can't afford. Like the reason why I'm saying that is that, okay, let's just say for Forza 7, right? Okay, I've been playing the hell out of that game. I'm already a tier 17 level 110. I'm putting close to 100 hours into it already. Okay, for somebody that's just getting it, or they've been waiting for the X version to start playing it, and they have opportunities to buy tokens to maybe, catch up and try to play with other friends because they can't get those cars as quickly. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I really don't, because what you're doing is you're giving the player the option. Now, free content, I think, goes a long way. That's why I think Halo 5 was perfect. Or
to mitigate the bullshit, right?
Yeah, to mitigate it. And also the Battlefield series. I love the way that they do it. You pay one fee and then that's it. And you get all the content, unless you want about the shortcuts. Those are smart ways. The other ways, I totally agree with you, Fonzie, but I think that they need to have they need to be well balanced.
I don't think they're needed at all. I disagree. I think that what they're doing is, or what we need to do as gamers, is try to dictate them putting any of this shit in our games. We need to stop them putting this shit in our games, because I don't think advantages at all are a good thing. Even in a single player game, a lot of times it can, and it already has sort of dictated how the game is created. These microtransactions are affecting single player games in that aspect.
Yeah, but the thing is, Fonz, it's like, what exactly can we do? I mean, we're the hardcore, we're a smaller set, we're against these microtransactions, sure, but it's like Dealer said, they made $15,000 from one guy in microtransactions. Unless the casuals do a mass exodus and just all choose to not pay for this, it's not going away. Like,
what we are seeing, Luca, is we got games with microtransactions, and even games with no microtransactions, like Forza 7, losing points on Metacritic. Keep this in mind: Forza 7 is better than Forza 6 in every way. Literally several times more content in certain ways, and the game's actually lower on Metacritic than Forza 6, and that's because of this stigma with loot boxes and microtransactions don't exist, right? Shadow War better than Shadow of Mordor in every way, lower on Metacritic than Shadow of Mordor, and that's what developers are going to start seeing with all this stuff going on. So I think everybody's got a good point. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think loot boxes is a different situation. Loot boxes, to me, I mean, man, it's gambling to me. I don't like it at all. I think that I'd rather have a system to buy. If you want to pay for something extra, just buy the thing outright that you want. There shouldn't be any kind of gambling in our games. It's not right.
Okay, let me make one more point. Okay, if you have a game that you paid $100 or $120, however much that you paid, that's over $100, the deluxe version, I don't feel that you need to give any more money to that game. because I think you showed that loyalty to that company and to that game and to the devs that, look, these people they enjoy that game that much to where they shouldn't have to pay any extra. So I agree with Fonz on that. But again, I don't see anything wrong with if they could change it to where they could have a lower price game, something like of what they did with Overwatch, and then they have customizable, trinkets, whatever the hell that they want to add with those loot boxes. I think that helps as long as it's not cheating to win. I think that's the biggest problem that we have right now is where people will spend money to be overpowered to get OP, and that's where I totally agree with you on that, Fonz.
I want to know what the chat thinks, and shout out to almost 400 people watch this already live. We appreciate it, guys. Let's try to get up well over 300 likes for the show. We do appreciate that kind of stuff. It helps a lot. So I think it's a passionate subject.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to chime in besides Fonz or K Mega?
No, I want to say the chat hates microtransactions. Okay. I'm watching as you guys are talking, and they're on board. I just
got to say one last thing with the microtransaction stuff. Here's the thing that I want people to really think about. Because a lot of people say I don't want it in multiplayer games, single player, it's fine. But think about this: when games start to get created around these microtransactions, okay, when they start,
which they already are.
When they make a game too grindy, when they make a game to say, hey, you know what? It's going to take you 5 hours to get to this point, but if you pay $1 here, you can get to that point a lot faster. Or they're going to give you a better weapon that makes the game a lot more fun. It's going to make you more enticed to buy that, item. And that's the problem I have with microtransactions as a whole. They're smart. They bring in psychologists to look at this stuff. The gaming industry brings in psychologists to try to get people addicted to their games. What can we do to make more money out of this?
Destiny.
Yeah. Activision's patent as well,
Yes, they did.
Activision did this with, Call of Duty. They've been doing microtransactions before then, if you kind of look at it from that standpoint. But Call of Duty was that cancer that started this, and people hasn't stopped, and that's the thing.
Let me ask the panel one last thing before we close. I'm sorry.
Question. Go ahead.
Let me ask you guys in the RDX panel, and just say yes or no. And then we'll move on. Has microtransactions ruined your gaming experience when you're playing games?
I can't say no.
No.
I don't think no.
All right, it's settled.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, well, everybody's got good points all day in the chat. Shout out, he says cosmetic only. I agree with that sentiment. I don't mind it at all. Insomniac, they're looking for somebody to publish Sunset Overdrive 2, meaning, of course, it could be a multi-plat if indeed it ever did happen. I don't know. This one should be short and sweet, but hey, any fans of Sunset Overdrive 1 in here?
I'm a fan. I liked it. I would love them to go multi-plat. I don't care what platform it's on. If it makes it better by going multi-plat, if they can get more support, it's a fun game. And a bunch of us got it free on Games with Gold a couple months ago. So let's hear in the chat if you guys liked Sunset Overdrive. It wasn't the best game, but it was fun.
The writing, it was witty and stuff. Yeah, I could have did some better quest design and stuff, but it wasn't bad for a 2014 game at all.
Do you think Microsoft will pick it up?
No.
They don't.
I don't. And when I hear people talk to Phil and they're like, I would ask Phil why there's no Sunset Overdrive 2 or no this 2 or that 2. And I'm like, don't worry about that. We need some new IP. We need some new, more mature narratives, Shannon Loftus. That's what I would appreciate. Maybe if any one game out there that I wouldn't mind a sequel from, it's Rise 2, because that game had so much potential. Imagine different armor sets, weapons, combat, all kinds of stuff you could have did with a Rise 2. But, I think Sunset Overdrive was its own thing, and it was very unique for what it was. And if you got it, you'll have it forever.
Well, I don't know the numbers on this game. I personally didn't like it, but how well did it do?
I think it did 1.4 million physical.
Okay. So I'm assuming that it did, at least 500K digitally.
Yeah, it was at the beginning of the generation, but yeah, now you're seeing like Halo 5 with 18 million Xbox Ones out there did 5 million total in 3 months, and 1.8 of that was physical. So digital is definitely a force.
My point.
Go ahead, Fonz.
Yeah, my point being is that Xbox has got to look at, is this a moneymaker? And also, there's a lot of people out there that do enjoy the game. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not good. A lot of guys in the chat are like, hey, I really liked the game. It was fun. And if they can make money on part 2, then why not,
Yep. The people have the power. That's what people got to understand. And speaking of power, Microsoft unveiled the full Feel the True Power of Xbox One X commercial. I thought it was pretty decent, right? Could have did a little better, but what do you guys think about the new ad campaign?
It's better than my commercial.
Mega, what do you think about this new commercial you saw yesterday?
I loved it. And to go back on the last point, I just wanted to say that if one thing that PlayStation does right, in my opinion, is that they kind of have this they don't give a damn attitude. They will keep throwing games at you, sequels after sequels. And even if those games doesn't sell well, eventually it catches on. Just like, I mean, case in point, Persona. And that's why I feel that Microsoft has an opportunity to try to bring those games that came out at the beginning of this generation to give them a second chance. I mean, I want to see Rise. I want to see Sunset Overdrive. Doesn't matter if the masses didn't like it. If they got an opportunity and those games were worked on better, I think that they could gain new life.
That's a good point. I would say, though, that things like Persona and stuff are not made by Sony, to my knowledge. So Sony generally don't really take risks like that where they lose a lot of money and keep coming out with sequels. It's generally the third-party Japanese developers that tend to do that, and it works for them, right? And we're getting some of those games over on Xbox, according to Phil Spencer. So, we'll see what happens with that, man. Anybody else on Sunset Overdrive or the Xbox One X marketing campaign, the full commercial? Before we had only seen like 5 or 6 second teasers of it, right? The Feel the True Power stuff.
I want to hear Luca.
Been put together. Yeah, Luca, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I think it's a good start.
What do you think you could do better?
Well, I know Fonz had a lot to say about it. He said it was more appealing to the hardcore than the casuals, essentially.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they should make it more clear. Like, I get that they're saying, hey, this is, our 4K box, but I feel like they could do more.
I mean, Phil did say this is for the hardcore, which I understand that. But if it were for the hardcore, I would have at least left the world's most powerful console up there longer than 0.2 of a second. Yeah. Right, so that wasn't even up there that long. They didn't show any kind of before and after shots. They showed a lot of CG stuff. I would have did it a bit better, and it didn't really explain much. Does it work with everything? They could have done a lot to get a lot of questions out of the way, but it does spark interest. Fonz, give us your take.
Yeah, it was good to see some video, some gaming video and stuff in there. The one thing I thought that was kind of odd, though, is the fact that they showed that Tomb Raider movie thing.
Oh, yeah.
That surprised me.
Oh, what is that?
But I think they're trying to show you're going to see 4K movies, but that kind of was lost on most of the audience.
Yeah, and here's why it was lost, because just like Luca just said, there wasn't enough detail there. Now, they could have said 4K Blu-ray and then showed that, and it would have been like, oh, okay.
They need to hire you,
one little
Fonz.
slide, right? 4K Blu-ray.
They need to hire Fonz to help them, kind of direct this commercial.
Well, just anybody with a brain, that'd be great.
I think it would have been cool. Dealer said to me the other day, they didn't show enough gameplay. You're seeing cutscenes. It would have been great to show Gears of War in game and then zoom way in, and then have the quality change, make a little noise,
or swipe across the screen like they did with the Xbox.
Yeah, a swipe or a transition. They zoom in way on the shoulder of the armor and then make this noise, and then it's true 4K. And they're okay, I see what they're getting at.
Though here's the issue with network television, because that's what they're targeting here. They're in the football game.
And they're like, shut up, just get back to the game, right?
Yeah, but they're trying to target a casual audience here, obviously, because they're during these casual shows and hardcore, football shows. But anyway, so on network television, you can't really convey 4K, footage, of a game. It's not really going to look that great because most people are probably watching on 1080, or even if they're watching in 4K for some reason, the commercial's probably not going to be in 4K. You're not really going to get that across. But it's always fun to show gameplay, have a good hype beat behind it. It's fun. It was a good commercial. However, like I said, they should have showed more details in there to help you understand it a bit for the casuals anyway.
It was all about the feel. That's what they were trying to get, that you were going to have a tactile feeling of what was different about the X. And
I think they showed in that commercial, if anything, that it's time to be excited for Xbox again. It's time to take another look at Xbox 4 years later. Hey, what the fuck is Microsoft doing? Right? That's what people need to start thinking about. So I want to know in the chat what you guys think, if anything, what they could have done better. Because
say one thing though. with that Tomb Raider scene though, when it was showing that, you know, Lara Croft running in the forest or whatever, I was thinking to myself, now what is this telling somebody who's watching on the couch who has no idea that is the new Tomb Raider? Because I mean, honestly, it didn't look like, oh, that's Tomb Raider, you know. We knew because we've seen it, you know, all over the place on YouTube or whatnot. But to the casual person, they're just seeing some woman running in the forest, and they're like, okay, what does that have to do with anything here?
Well, we got to give a shout out to almost 500 people watching us live. Hit that like button, share the video, guys. We appreciate it. Want to move on to Wolfenstein 2's. And I wanted to talk about this for a particular reason, because we're going to get guys going along telling us, hey, just get a $580 PC with the lowest possible thing you can get. And you can always upgrade it later. And this is a good reason why you don't want to do that. As I've said before, don't let anybody tell you to just skimp out on your CPU to get something at $580. You're just going to have to upgrade it later. You save up that little extra money, pay about $700, and get you something that's going to last a couple years, especially longer on the CPU side. Wolfenstein's minimum CPU requirements are an i7-3770 and an FX 8350. Pentium's not welcome. So, as I said before, don't go get yourself a Pentium rig when game developers don't even recommend anything close to that on the CPU side is their minimum spec, and they do that for a reason. Whether or not people are going to say, well, you could do it anyway. You know, I play it safe. Get yourself something that's going to last you a while instead of getting the bare minimum. It's just ridiculous. So
just so you could say that it's cheaper than an Xbox One X.
Yeah, even though it's still not, you know.
That Pentium, I mean, that's what they're claiming, but that Pentium's gone from 45 up to almost $70. Yeah. So it's, you know, good luck.
I mean, we're not trying to have that debate again, but my point is, don't skimp out and get yourself the bare bottom of the barrel fucking CPU to make yourself a comparable build. It's just not worth it. Also, just for those wondering, you need a GTX 1060 for 1080p 60 FPS gameplay consistently on Wolfenstein 2. That's their recommended. And this game might be a little more demanding than we actually initially thought, Wolfenstein 2 over Wolfenstein 1. I know we've got some Wolfenstein fans in here. I'm going to give it to you guys.
I'm excited.
I'm super excited. I cannot wait. Like, it's going to be a struggle to hold off and not play this game, but I really want to pop it in the X. Like, day one, that's the game I want to play on the X.
Yeah. Megan, did you play it? Wolfenstein 1?
Yeah, I got them. I have not beat them yet. They're pretty damn tough. I'm almost done with the old blood, but they're great games. I can't wait for this one. This one has me really excited, and I know it's going to look great even before it gets on the X. But I'm like Luca, I got to wait.
Yeah.
To get it on the X, just like I'm doing with Shadows of War.
I already own Assassin's Creed Origins. Already downloaded. I could boot it up Thursday night, but I'm gonna bear it. I'm gonna hold off for 10 days and not click that button and wait for the X. So I definitely understand.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Assassin's Creed. Like, I have that and Wolfenstein. So, also, shout out to Ryan for getting me Assassin's Creed. I appreciate you, bro. But yeah, I'm
nice person.
Nice.
So I don't know, man. I'm really looking forward to these games, and I really feel like that. I don't know, maybe. I feel like they should have brought the X out earlier, like in time for these games, you know. And it sucks that I have to wait, but it is what it is.
Luca's right. They have a bunch of huge games, like even Forza 7 coming out, you know, a month before the X almost. That's crazy timing. I don't know. I mean, but things had to happen the way they did, and you know, they had hurdles they had to jump over, and things had to be set up. But this is like an amazing holiday to play that new console on. There's some huge, awesome looking games.
Yeah, I agree. It's absolutely insane.
It's been about that support. We've been watching unbelievable support for the X lately. If you guys are paying attention to the news and chat, it's been unbelievable that devs are stepping up saying, hey, we want our game to look as good as it can look, and we're going to go bend over backwards to make it look great on the X. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I just find it funny that there are like so many people who are like, well, PlayStation, you know, market leader, they're not going to do anything with the X. Just don't expect anything. And it's just like, wow, you were so wrong. What's it like to be that wrong?
Let me just say that Jim Ryan has not said a word in like 2 months. Have you guys noticed that? No. Jim Ryan of Sony.
Lucas said it
like a dogma.
What's it like to be that wrong? That's what I would say. Because you get people like, where's your opinion on this? How about that? There's a blade of grass over here. It's not on the Xbox. And I'm like, what do you said there would not be any support for the X. Where's your fucking, what are you talking about? Get out of here. You know, like people are so dumb. And
I'm trying to play
guys that told you that thing was going to be $800 and to get 0 patches and not have any 4K games and it would just be parity. And you were all dead wrong. And we're seeing that with Shadow War and other games already. So this is absolutely a great time to be an Xbox fan.
Absolutely.
Yep, indeed.
Absolutely phenomenal. Andre Renee, who's a games journalist, I think she's doing stuff with Greg Miller, right?
Now she's worked with game trailers. She's actually worked with Microsoft on some promo stuff, but she's a big PlayStation gamer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Redhead.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Luca's like, oh,
yeah, she's cute.
Basically, she's most people probably know who she is. If you don't know her name, you know if you saw her. She's already announced on Twitter that she's the journalist. That's why I'm even talking about this. She's announced that she's moving all her third-party playtime over to the Xbox One X after playing the console. She was initially skeptic before playing it, but as we've said on this channel several times, when they play it, they're going to come around. They're going to understand why those 4K assets are very important. She's played it. She said that she's moving all her third-party games over to the Xbox One X and using the PlayStation 4 exclusives only. Yeah, that seems very logical and reasonable to me.
Sounds a lot like
that's what I'm going to do as well.
Yep.
So let me ask you a question, Fonz. Witcher 3 just got a patch on the Pro. Are you still going to go through the Pro version knowing that patch is kind of underwhelming? It's a little bit better resolution and a little bump to here or there. No higher resolution textures or anything?
I haven't even went and looked at it yet because I'm waiting to see what it does on the X.
So that'll kind of determine.
Do you have Witcher 3 on Xbox?
No. I currently have it on.
Bro, it's only $20. Like, just pick it up.
Right now, it's $20. Is that the complete edition?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Just pick it up just in case.
The Witcher.
Yeah.
The Witcher.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm contemplating because I've got like 25 hours into The Witcher 3 PlayStation.
Oh, dude, that's nothing.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, but it's still a lot. So
yeah, I got you.
Nonetheless,
if it's a significant bump in details and stuff on the X, then it's a no-brainer.
Well, hey, we got over 500 people watching, guys. Thanks for checking us out. Shout out to Lethal Papa, Noof Nukem, Def Jam Bam, everybody, and it's just so many of you guys. So thanks, Cyrus, all of the above. You guys are awesome. That's pretty interesting news regarding Andrea. Also interesting news, the count of Xbox One X enhanced titles has gone up from 130 to over 150 as of today.
Jeez.
Absolutely phenomenal. So
yeah, we called this. We were hoping and thinking it would probably hit 150 by launch. Look at that. That's awesome.
That's insane. You remember that list people were running with back in the day? I said it wasn't real because, of course, it wasn't real. But the number was pretty accurate. The Xbox is going to have 100 4K games at launch or 100 patch games at launch. And we were like, I don't know, that's pretty high. But we didn't believe the games that were in the list. And it turns out those games in that list weren't real. But that number has been exceeded, surprisingly. And that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you're right, dealer. That was like back in May. We were looking at 100 games, and when that list finally came out, it was about 100. It's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and there's a this would be a good time to say this. I did a video last week about the support compared to Pro compared to the X. Mm-hmm. And the best thing I could find was that the Xbox One X was at 130 supported games, according to the Xbox site. And the PS4 Pro only had 76, I think it was. Now that number is somewhere around 90, but somebody was fighting with me and did a video about me that I never watched, of course. But there was this big fight on Twitter about how the PS4 Pro had over 236 enhanced games. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? I crap you not, as I don't swear.
I crap you not.
The day before this happens, the guy says, this list is on NeoGAF. And he links me to this NeoGAF thing. And it's this NeoGAF site that has this cited thing for each game is cited at 4K support and all this crap. And I'm like, I'm not going to trust your NeoGAF thing. I'm going to go with this Digital Trends article from the media. And then the next day, NeoGAF goes...
It fucking implodes. with stuff we shall not mention here.
Man, NeoGAF has been showing some very weird stuff here lately. I guess it's back up. And the stuff that they're showing, all I gotta say is watch your computer and have spyware, because I'm telling you, there's some freaky deaky mother shut your mouths out there, man. I'm telling you, it's pretty gross, pretty gross.
Some weirdos.
Yes.
Man,
Tanky wanky.
I just remembered, guys, I was so busy today, I barely got to show up in time. I didn't get the RDX tweet out until like 4:30. I forgot to do the RDX question of the day on Twitter. So
we've got Rand out there. Shout out to Rand. He said that most of these patches aren't going to be available day one for the Xbox One X for these games.
Well, of course, Rand's out there to bomb our buzz. So let's, Rand, it's going to be there, God damn it, soon as possible. And most of them actually are hitting very.
He mentioned that the Assassin's Creed game is going to get a patch till the end of November.
On their site, it says early November.
Well,
so I just saw that today. So I don't know. I just hear a lot of stuff, and I'm going to stick to the website for now anyway. So
not good.
Here's the deal, guys. Since I forgot to do the RDX question of the day, if you're in the chat, please list a question. I'm going to try to get some in, and Jay, just pick out a few that you see that are interesting, and we'll just kind of move on to the Friday the 13th giveaway. I'm giving away a copy of that for Xbox One. So if you haven't checked the game out, plays Jason Fuller. He's the counselors. Thanks to Gun Media, we got some codes, and their single player is supposed to launch here, I think, in the next several months. So if you want a copy of Friday the 13th, follow me on Twitter at @dealer_gaming. Message me there, tweet at me there, and I will pick a winner. So Destiny 2 player counts. Any Destiny fans in here, Fonz? Luca?
She said
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
No. I said to the chat, I'll be right back. Yeah, the player count went down. I'm not surprised. I'm sure it'll pick back up when the DLC comes out in December. A lot of new games came out, so I see a lot of people who are hardcore Destiny nuts on those other games. Also, it's kind of like once you hit 305 and you do the raid, and there's not much left to do other than get your other characters up and then do your weekly milestones, and that's about it. So
yeah, well, you'll be happy to hear that the player bases fell off 78% in 6 weeks. What do you think about that, Fonz?
Here's the problem with it. I've put over 200 hours into the game, and I'm sure Luca is close to that, if not more. I don't know.
120.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Try to keep track of these questions too. I'm ultimate multitasker right now, bro.
That's a lot of hours put in. Okay. That said, in the first game, by this time, I probably had 300. I'm just saying that the end game here, the changes, some of the changes they made in the game are not conducive to really prolonging the life of the game, and it's really a sad thing. They've messed up in some areas, and unless they change it, I'm going to go on record as saying I might not be back.
Man, that's coming from a guy that cried on his Destiny 2 review.
And I love the game. I love the game. The game is phenomenal, but the end game is broken to me.
I know K Mega's a super fan of Destiny, man. What do you think about this?
Man, damn. You know what? Let me just, okay, I'm going to try to be nice about this. You know what I'm saying? My boy Fonz here. Yeah, and I know how much he loves the game.
They're already consoling, right? So you got to take it easy.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pat him on the back while I stab the shit out of the Destiny box. Okay, listen. This is the same. While the people that were out there that was dogging out the Division, and they were dogging out other games that's kind of like with the Division, there was not enough content. And
it was a grind game.
Yeah, it was a grind game. But see, that's what Destiny needs to do, is to become a grind. I know it's a grind game, but it needs to be a fully open world gem, not this story mode stuff to get it in and go past. Or they need to scrap that PvP garbage, or they need to expand the PvP. You know what I'm saying? In order for that game to have a better longevity, because there's too many great shooters out there. And then when you play Destiny and you get to shoot and you get to shooting, and that is only 6 on, what is it? 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 6-on-6. It's trash. They need to.
Yeah, it's 4-on-4. It's pretty bad. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, so they have to extend something to have the players to still stay, because once people get hooked, they're hooked. I mean, I would like to pay it, but I made the promise that I wasn't going to buy the game. But I'll play the motherfucker, but I'm not going to buy it. So.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, Fonz, did you pick out any questions with the chat real quick? You got anything for us yet?
They fly by so fast. I'm going.
Oh my God!
One of the questions was, how do I not become a fraud? You know.
Was that Rand?
At this point,
yeah, it was Rand. That was from.
Somebody said this PS4 Pro do 4K. Of course, we know the answer to that.
Okay, here's a question from Keon Dupree. He wants to know, where did the term Soupgate come from?
Oh, wow.
Digital Foundry.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Who did Soupgate? Crap, that was all over on Twitter on Thursday.
A lot in my comment section, a lot of people, #Soupgate.
And then I know this one fanboy, he made this Progresso soup can.
Oh, man.
You know, I did that Progresso soup thing, and it got like 11,000, 12,000 impressions on Twitter.
Just so you guys know, Colt is actually the guy that made that infamous Progresso soup can and passed it out there, and everyone stole it. Just like
I gag every time I look at that bowl of PS4 Pro textures in this bowl. You know, it's like
Well,
you know, hey, let me say this, because I don't know if we're getting into the whole Shadow War thing. It might be on the list, but this was the first time. Did you guys notice this is the first time where you could look at the comparison on your phone and say, "Holy crap, I can see the difference." You know, for a long time we've been looking at the difference between PC and Pro and the Xbox and stuff, and they look, you know, pretty similar. But like this is the first time where I was like, I had to screenshot it immediately while I was watching it.
Yep, and we're going to get into there's a lot to say about that. You're absolutely right. This is, you know, as we've said on this channel forever, you're getting those high resolution textures. There's a reason they put that RAM in there, blah, blah, blah. I was told by neutrals that, oh, well, the extra RAM wouldn't help because UWP games use more RAM than regular games. I mean, this is how stupid people are. So we're definitely going to get into that. First, we'll talk about Gears of War 4 real quick. Getting a 60 frames per second mode for the story. This is the best news to come for Xbox One X in quite a while. We had previously predicted that, hey, maybe it's not the case. They're not confirming it. Definitely wasn't on the list of enhancements before. This is a new addition because we didn't think maybe the CPU didn't have what it took with the AI and the physics and all that stuff in the single player. Turns out it's called a high frame rate mode, apparently, which means it'll try to lock out a 60 as much as possible, but will not always hold it. So the CPU is right on the edge. It's working double time to get double the frame rate, and they managed to give us a high frame rate mode.
Amazing. It was a big surprise.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember, I was complaining about this to you for about a month straight, going, why can't they just make it 1080 60? Why can't they do that for us guys that want the frame rates?
Yeah.
Thank God.
This is huge, Fonz, because this is like one of the things that, you know, PC gamers look down upon the new mid-generation refresh consoles. They can't do 60 frames on a lot of games. But you've got Rise of the Tomb Raider and now Gears 4, where they said, hey, we can make it happen because there's just enough power. We can get it working. Yep. And it's really good news. And I put out a poll, like, are you going to play this at 4K 30 or 1080 60? And a lot of people picked 4K 30. And for those of you who play a lot on console or maybe only on console, I would really suggest you try out 60 frames because you've never seen Gears in 60 frames before, and it will...
Well, the multiplayer 60.
Right, yeah, but when you're playing a campaign through Gears, like I just played through the whole thing with Dealer last month, and we played it on PC so we could do the 60 frames thing and have recordings going on and all that stuff. Outstanding, just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people chose 4K 30 just because, you know, they don't know, you know, they've never experienced it before. But I feel like a lot of people are going to try it out and they're going to realize, hey, this is actually way better. And they're going to change their mind on it because just console gamers are used to playing at 30 frames when it comes to certain games. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, Luca, how cool is it that you can switch between the two at will if you want? I mean, isn't that great?
That's amazing, and I really hope that more games implement this. I want a performance mode. I want 60 frames, and I may not be in the minority in the community, but that's just what I want. I want the game to feel better, not look better. I don't care.
Somebody asked if PUBG is coming to game preview. I do believe that's what he means, and yeah, to my knowledge, yes, it's going to be in game preview first. But back to Gears, that's the cool thing about options. No matter which one of those buttons you hit on Twitter, 4K 30, 1080 60. You can simply push the start button, go to options, and change it back and forth at will. So It's great that developers are seeing this. We're getting more of this. People can tell the difference. The fluidity, the game just sparkles at 60 frames. And if you don't know or you don't care, it's not a big deal, because those that do know and do care have that option. And that's another thing when people say there's no 60 frames games on X, so it's not worth it. Almost every multiplayer game I played on Xbox here lately has been 60 frames per second, even if the campaign was 30. So, you know, that's not necessarily true anyway, but options are good, man. Mega, you got any thoughts on this?
No, I mean, options are good. I mean, I've said that certain games definitely needs to be 60 frames per second, and that's racers, fighters, you know, in sports games that definitely need to be 60, and shooters. Those games definitely need to be 60. Other for like big open world games, I'm not that big of a deal. I will be going to want to see the visuals. I'll be a 4K 30 guy when it comes to like playing The Witcher 3. And things like that. So options are good, and Microsoft is just doing things and going in the right direction, man. It's very positive.
Either way, the games are going to look absolutely phenomenal. So not only are you getting 1080p 60 in Gears 4 and the X, by the way, you're getting better draw distance, you're getting better textures, you're getting better lighting, dynamic shadows, you're getting a lot of stuff, better vegetation. So it doesn't matter. You're still getting a settings bump. You remember hearing those PC guys talk for years, 60 frames, it looks so much better. Remember, these guys weren't playing at 4K back then. They were playing at 1080p most likely, and they were playing at ultra settings. So you're getting a PC quality experience with Gears of War 4 now in the campaign with 60 frames per second. Look forward to it. Absolutely phenomenal news. Shadow of War, Colt Eastwood, lead the way on this one, bro.
This was a great day. So Digital Foundry put out that video and compared, and like I said, well, we talked about a minute ago about how, you know, it looks so different. You know, the comparison was so obvious right off the bat. But the coolest thing in that video actually was the way they praised the Xbox One X and continually compared it to high-end PC settings, high-end visuals, like the high-end PC experience.
Yep.
And how they praised the Xbox, and Dealer can speak to this, with that extra bandwidth and just all of those hardware requirements that are met in the X that make it possible to have, as Dealer would say, blow your face off the back of your skull graphics on Shadow of War. Take it away, Dealer. What was your take?
I'm going to give another shout out to 500 plus watching. We got 7 haters. Thanks for that. Not sure why. We just keep shit real. But for those that are actually awesome and enjoy the show, please hit that like button. We appreciate it. Shadow of War, I'll sum it up a little very quickly. Middle-earth Shadow of War was compared on Digital Foundry versus PS4 Pro versus Xbox One X. And, of course, they came away with quite some findings. So the Pro version runs at 1620p with medium PC textures, the equivalent. The Xbox One X version runs at 4K. So in 4K mode, it is locked at 4K. It's not dynamic 4K. It's locked unless you actually choose the dynamic toggle. So it does run at 4K with PC 4K Ultra HD textures installed. And that's 2 steps higher than the Pro. The Pro doesn't run high, and it definitely doesn't run the optional 4K texture pack like the X does. So you're getting substantially better visuals. And the sad part, Colt, was we saw this massive difference over YouTube, right?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine seeing this, right? For most people in 1080p, you're going to see this too, because you get the textures, you get all the bells and whistles on 1080p displays as well. But even at 1080p on YouTube, you saw the difference. Imagine seeing these 4K textures brought out natively on a 4K TV in front of you, or even on a 1080p TV in front of you. The difference is even bigger. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
I know. I heard a lot of chat from the RDX chat while this is happening. Anybody else got any quick thoughts on this at all? I mean, this is crazy.
Well.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yes.
I can't wait to see more comparisons between the X and the Pro. It's going to be really funny. It's going to be hilarious. Twitter's going to you know what?
It blew up.
What blew my mind was that they basically said, I think they said this. I'm going to quote them, and you guys can correct me if I got it wrong, but the PS4 Pro has the same textures as the Xbox One S, the base Xbox, correct?
Ooh.
Yeah, they confirmed that it does run the same textures as the base consoles.
So you've got that, which is really weird. It's just it's crazy how different the game's going to look.
It's not weird because we've already established. I have personally, when I bought the Pro, and yes, some of the games look good, but it's basically a resolution box at the end of the day. That's what it is. I believe they made this box more for the VR. That's what I really think they did. And this is just an extra bell and whistle for some of the games. Hey, we can bump it up to 1800p, you know?
Yeah. Or 1620p in this case, right?
1440.
So we will say it is worth noting that they do have a couple different things. They have a little bump to ambient occlusion. I think a little bit better shadows on the Pro version, but it's also worth noting that you get that in the quality mode that runs at 1920p on the X. You get the 4K textures, you get the ambient occlusion bump, the shadows, better vegetation, higher level of details, a bunch of stuff, man. I did a video on this, so I'm sure my viewers actually know every feature that's coming to Shadow War. The game is going to look indicative of the PC version at the highest settings. Even if it is at 30 frames, you're getting very good looking detail here.
Plus, it's an outstanding game. It's not just some game that not many people are going to play. It's awesome. I love the game.
Better than the first game in every way.
I will say, though, that the PS4 Pro does have some good looking games. Like I said on last RDX podcast, GT Sport looks great.
And that's a good transition. Because we're actually going to talk about Forza versus GT Sport. For some reason, everyone expects me to talk about this like I've always insulted Gran Turismo's visuals. Gran Turismo has always been a good-looking franchise, and no one's ever said anything different of GT Sport. Now, they've taken 4 years to craft GT Sport with, around 150 cars, 6 real-world tracks, a total of 15 tracks total. You've got basically no single player. You know, it's very limited content, and the Metacritic shows what people think of this game, right? Meanwhile, Forza's got over 30 tracks, over 700 cars, each of them fully upgradable with exhaust, cams, twin turbos, centrifugal superchargers, etc. You got every upgrade in the book. Much more detail put into Forza in terms of your experience, but Gran Turismo Sport does take it in terms of visuals in many aspects, like ambient occlusion and the little air conditioning vent in the cabin of the car. Little things that individually may not mean much, but when looking at the cockpit as a whole, at least in some cars, does make the game look absolutely phenomenal.
And
go ahead, Fonz.
I was going to say, I personally, I panned the game's graphics a few months back. We all did. And that's because even the fans...
I said from the third-person view, the game looks like the map's rotating under the car, yeah.
The reason why, though, is a few months back when we saw that closed beta, it did look a lot different. Even the fans of the game said it did look bad back then. So it wasn't just us. That game looked terrible back then.
I don't think the game looks much different. I'm talking about the third-person camera. I think it looks about the same. The cockpits always look good to me.
For me, it looks better in the lighting area. The textures look a little bit better too. There is differences from the closed beta till now. Because I was blown away by what I was looking at on the demo. It's a beautiful game, but unfortunately, this game has what I'd like to call the Street Fighter V syndrome. It has nothing going for it. You know what I'm saying? When that first launched, there was nothing there. It was bare bones. You didn't have an arcade mode there. Here you have no career mode, and that just blows me away. Like, how are you going to put out a racing game without a single player career mode? How are you not going to do that? That you might as well put out nothing, because that's
that's weird, Fonz, because when you look at the Forza campaign, it really boils down to a certain order of tracks and a different championships. Like, it doesn't seem like it would take all that much work to kind of build a linear career mode in GT Sport. And it's kind of missing there.
Well, they rushed it, and that's
4 years. 4 years, though, dealer.
I know, but as bad as that sounds, it's still rushed when you don't have a campaign, or you don't have upgrades, or your vinyl customization is very limited, or you only got a few cars and tracks. It's just upgraded, or not upgraded, but rushed. And it is what it is. I think the game looks good in cockpit view. Third-person view, I don't like the way the cars rotate and transition. It's not very realistic at all. I think that's been a widely held critique of the game. Go look at Metacritic. I think it's at a 74, 75 right now compared to Forza 7's 86, which, let's be honest, not from the loot box debacle. Invisible microtransactions, it'd be more around a 90 minimum. I also think that GT Sport might. Yeah, I think GT Sport could have dropped down 1 or 2 points, but it has a pedigree and people are loyal to a great franchise. I think it maybe bolstered it up a couple of points. But the thing I like about GT Sport is just at first glance, the game just looks really beautiful. I just love the way they presented the game. And people may think I'm being disingenuous, but
I really like the way that the lighting and the way that the whole game shines. I think they did a great job. And then when I watched the Digital Foundry video and they just showed those fine details, I mean, there's a fifth of the cars Forza 7 has. So yeah, they can like really fine tune all those little details and make them look really good. But I don't need to say that. They made a great looking game, and it's one of those things that it's 1800p compared to native 4K in Forza. But, you know, it has less pixels, but it still is a great looking game. And hats off to that developer for Polyphony for doing that.
Looks great, yeah. And I'll sum up my final thoughts. I want to ask K-Mega what he thinks. Forza does take it in terms of clarity, things like that, and just features. And it was a design decision not to add little things like ambient occlusion on the vents. You know, obviously, because they have the power with Xbox One X and the PC version to do those things. They have limitless power. There is nothing holding them back. Well, with the PC, they have limitless power. So there's absolutely nothing holding them back from adding things like ambient occlusion to a fucking air conditioning vent. It's a design decision. They didn't end up doing it, and they pay the price for it in that video. I think this will push Turn 10 to do better and increase those things and add those little things. They also need to make the driver have a little more movement when he's flying down a straightaway at 200 miles an hour. I don't like that things are so still in that cabin, besides the wires and the wing and the windshield wipers wagging and wiggling all around. That stuff's much more realistic than Gran Turismo when it comes to the way the car moves on the inside with the vibration. But other than that, yeah, Turn 10 do got to step it up in certain areas like that. So it's the fine details here. Mega, I know you're a GT fan, man. What do you think about this comparison?
I was highly disappointed. I thought that the game looked a lot better than what we previously seen. But again, the game actually shines the most with the HDR. And the one thing that you find out is once you have a regular PlayStation or PlayStation Slim like I do, no, the game doesn't hold a candle to what Forza 7 does visually on that standpoint. But when on the Pro, and it's even made me consider about even getting a Pro because I am that much of a GT.
So hang on, you gotta get this straight. Do you have the game on the base console? You're saying it doesn't look as good on the base console?
I played the demo. And and I was just like, the game looks good, but you don't see the HDR. And that's what makes Forza 7 really shine. And when people try to show, and when Digital Foundry showed from the PC, yeah, it looked good, but you and I all know that has a gaming PC, it doesn't look as good as it does on a 4K television with HDR. It just doesn't. It just doesn't unless you have an HDR monitor. So,
so you said Forza the edge on the color gamut and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just, look, GT has always been fantastic when it came to lighting. They are the masters of lighting. They do it better than anyone. But you know what I'm saying, but just the lack, not having no dynamic weather. I mean, all your competition has dynamic weather now at this point. Even Drive Club had dynamic weather.
Good point.
The one thing that really kills me is what Fonzarelli was saying, and that is no proper career mode. That is what makes GT. To scrap that out and to make it into the online, and then when you play online, you're not even really getting penalized, and there's people that's just driving erratic. It's stupid. There's no car damage, no true proper car damage. Still, like you would get penalized when you play in Forza or what is the Project Cars 2? Hell, even Dirt. You know what I'm saying? Formula One, all these other games just do it. It
sounds better.
Yeah. But so look, and then also the lack of cars. There's no Skyline, no Supra. There was no Mazda RX-7. There's you know what I'm saying?
The oldest car was from 2009 in GT Sport. Yeah, I mean it's not a wide range of.
Well, there's one car that's older than that.
Yeah, but the thing of it is that bothers me is that you want people to wait for a game that's been in development for over 4 years. I mean, it's great that they're going to give you free DLC, but the fact of it is that you ask people to pay $80 for an incomplete game. That's the same thing, just like Street Fighter, and that's just And I'm going to just tell you like this: the game will do well in the beginning, but I'm predicting after maybe 3 or 4 months, we're not even going to hear anything about GT Sport.
Probably not, yeah. And it's worth noting that if you play that game online, I do believe the track rotation is frozen to 3 tracks per week. So you're stuck racing 3 tracks a week, apparently. I don't know. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I did want to talk about the stuff that we actually have in the headlines here. Phil Spencer confirms on Twitter they're doing an Xbox One X live stream event for the launch of the console. I know a lot of people are getting ramped up and excited for the launch. Once more on the panel here, who all's getting this thing day one? Who's able to do so? I know I am. Megan, you getting one?
Yep, day one for me.
Luca, Fonz, you getting one? You able to get one?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, so you're working towards getting one. Colt, you got one, bro?
Got one. Just waiting.
All of us are counting the minutes, so it's like 13 days away now. Going to be amazing stuff. Getting mine midnight this time in 2 weeks. So
this would be a good point to bring this. This would be a good time to bring this up. I wanted to see what my my base Xbox One would be worth on GameStop, and the trade-in value is at $70 for a base Xbox One,
the black one.
And yeah, for the black one, I have the Titanfall bundle one. It's just the black one with the controller, a wireless controller. So my console is almost worth as much as a wireless controller at GameStop. But the weird thing about that, and I put this up, that if you trade in a PS4, a launch PS4, it is worth $140. So it's double, right? And that makes sense because it's a hotter item. It's in demand more.
Well, the same thing happened with the PS4 though, bro. But when the Pro was coming out, they had so many people trading their PS4s in, and that thing wasn't worth anything, and it was a year newer.
But
right?
the problem is more than the trading value. It's the markup. You get $70 for your Xbox, and then they turn around and sell it for $230. If you get $140 for your PS4, they turn around and sell that for $260.
Mm-hmm.
So the markup is 1.5 times more than the PS4.
They're
making so much more money.
That's gross.
Crazy.
So gross.
A lot of people selling them.
That's
So
just
if
kind
you
of
want to sell your Xbox One, you kind of waited too late now. The price is below the fucking floorboard.
My public service announcement. So I'm just going to go sell it on Craigslist and get stabbed, and we'll see how that goes.
Oh god.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens, man. You wait until the new console comes out to sell your old shit. They got a lot of those old ones sitting in inventory waiting to be sold because everyone else is doing the same thing, and you're not going to get anything for it. So that's kind of unfortunate. Super Lucky Tales, the studio CEO, has a lot to say about Xbox One X, and he started. What interview was this, Colt? Go ahead and lead the way on this one. You told me about this.
Yeah, he was interviewed by I always say this wrong. GameSpot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YouTube channel and webpage, right? So they asked him a whole bunch of stuff, and they're kind of drilling him about working with the Xbox One X, and they kept pointing it towards PC hardware. But this CEO of Playful, which made Super Lucky's Tale, he said some cool stuff. He said that the Xbox One X, they really delivered a true high-end PC performance. And he said this multiple times in the interview, that he kept pointing to the X as high-end PC performance. And he said that it's not easy to get a developed game to hit 4K 60, but they were so impressed with the raw power of the Xbox One X.
Now, before we continue, Colt, we're going to have a few turburglars saying that, well, it's Super Lucky's Tale. Of course, it's 4K, 5,000 million frames per second. We have to remind you that Crash Bandicoot, which looks kind of similar, was running 1440p, 30 frames per second on the Pro. Half of 4K, half of 60. So, of course, this is an accomplishment, no matter how bad you want to damage control this. Right?
And NAC ran at 1800p,
30 frames per second. Well, 60.
60.
Yeah,
so, yeah, there's a good comparison.
Mm-hmm.
He said also that they were going to run the game. If you have a standard Xbox, the game will run at 1080p, 30 frames. But if you have the X, it'll run at 4K native. At 60 frames, which is I thought was strange. We don't see a lot of games where the standard console, the Xbox One S, will run it at 30 frames while the X will run it at 60. That's kind of a cool thing.
Because that's more than a 4x jump in resolution. Plus, they added an additional 30 frames, pointing to a CPU bottleneck at 1.6 gigahertz on the CPU on the base Xbox. And that's my thing.
And it also points to that the Xbox One won't hold back the X. There won't be. We talked about parity with the PlayStation and the PlayStation Pro. We already know there's no parity between the X and the Pro, right? Mm-hmm. And we're also seeing, which sites like Review Tech USA and other sites said that there would be a parity issue, that the Xbox would be held back by its own. And this is not the case. He said it's very easy for them to develop the 2 separate modes, one for the S and one for the X.
Hey, Kyle Dawson, he's correcting me in the chat. You're right, bro. That's the PS4 CPU clock speed. The Xbox One was overclocked twice before launch. So 1.75 gigahertz. My bad, bro. So, yeah, you're right. Review Tech Titties is coming around. He spread a doubt for 2 years, and now he's coming around realizing that, of course, as usual, he was wrong.
He did that video yesterday and said that the Xbox will look better. And he was just saying, like, what, 2-3 months ago, that there was going to be parity and games wouldn't look that different. And it's kind of where we've been seeing, right? Fonz, we've been seeing this where the media has kind of like done a whole turnabout, and they got to cover their own rear end because.
Let me go ahead and read off the rest of what the CEO said. So yeah, he did say they're going to give you basically the high-end PC experience. High-end meaning your graphics card costs $300 or $400 minimum, right? That's what they mean by this stuff. He says Xbox One X is somewhere around a GTX 1070 in performance. He actually said between 1060 and 1080. So of course I did the math. And of course, as Colt said, the Xbox One X version is 4K 60. The S is 1080p 30. Both are going to look pretty damn good.
Yep.
Any final thoughts on this?
It's just good news. The whole article is good news. It's kind of interesting how he was drilled, and he handled it quite well. I mean, he just had compliments. He was really impressed.
If you notice that the only people that has really talked bad about the Xbox One X are people that are that just make opinion pieces, or just all-out haters of the Xbox and just Microsoft. Every developer, everybody that's really in the know has talked wonderful about the Xbox One X. I don't think anybody needs to keep biting their nails. I think it's time to just relax and say that Microsoft has finally did it, and just wait until you get a chance to get the Xbox One X so you can get true power. I mean,
time to be positive. Time to have fun. Right?
Positive. Yeah,
games are coming out. Droughts over. Power's here in 2 weeks. For those that have been whining about this for years, you're finally getting what you wanted. And trust me, we don't blame you for whining about it. We were whining about it as well. So, hey, guys, we want to say thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Please hit that like button. It really helps quite a bit. In the description, we're going to have a link to, of course, some other stuff. I got my Patreon link. If you like the show, if you like the channel, you want to show your support there, you can. And, of course, my buddy Titan Drago just made another video. I went ahead and put it in the description there. So check out my buddy Titan's music video in the description. It's pretty crazy if you want to have a good laugh.
And if you like it, go check out his other one that made me laugh so hard. Yeah,
so check that out. All that stuff will be in the description. We do appreciate the support. K Mega, where can people find you, man? How you been? Of course, we know that. You were just here. We're doing some outros.
I'm alive, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got to hurry up because Rachel Maddow's on. You know how I'm.
Oh, man.
But anyway, yeah, you can check me out on my channel at KMega405. Well, not at, but KMega405 on YouTube. Also, the GRG podcast every Friday night after Crossfire. Come check us out. We're going to have the mighty Luca coming and joining us. Hey, so it's going to be fun.
The top dog stomper.
Yeah, the women are going to run GRG, so get ready for that. So, man, thank you for having me on, man. My first time. Hopefully it's not my last.
No problem, brother. Fonzarelli, man, you've been a little bit quiet, man. What have you been up to?
Oh, no.
Where can people find you?
Hey, they can find me here on YouTube, Everything According to Me, or Jay Fonzarelli Works, or on Twitter, Jay Fonzarelli.
Okay, and also probably in the near street corner near you, serving up some hot foot jobs. Colt Eastwood, where can people find you?
Hey, that's my job.
Oh, man.
You can find me on YouTube at Colt Eastwood. Weekly videos, I try. Talk to me on Twitter if you want to. But just find me on Xbox Live. We're going to be playing Forza, and talk to me on the chat while I'm killing orcs. I'm almost done with that game. It keeps so good.
Oh, man. All right, and Luca, where can people find you? What's going on with you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at the Ashen Luca, and like Mega said, I will be on his show on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that.
And of course, every week here on the RDX podcast, we do appreciate you guys showing up. Thanks for the support. Hit that like button. Check out the links in the description below, and we're out.
Bye.
Peace.